Hey, welcome to Ask Nutrition is Deepa's video and audio podcast. And today, shoot, I'm going to redo it.
Okay, start over.
Okay. Okay. Ready?
Ready.
Welcome everyone to Ask Nutrition is Deepa's video and audio podcast and videocast. And today I'm super excited to have Meryl Fury, who is a nurse and the president of plant-based nutrition movement in the Chicagoland area and everywhere. And she's joining me for our annual Thanksgiving cook along. We did mac and cheese and sweet potato pie last year, and today we are going to do, oh my God, 6 dishes: stuffed butternut squash with wild rice and pomegranate, cranberry chutney infused with ginger and cloves, my Brussels sprouts with mustard maple dressing, and Meryl is going to cook her southern style greens mashed potato with mushroom gravy. Uh, and to do that, I'm going to welcome Meryl. Welcome to Ask Nutrition is Deepa's Whole Food Plant Based video cast series.
Well, oh my goodness, thank you very much, Deepa. It is always so much fun to be able to spend time with you in the kitchen, even if you're 80 miles away. It's great. That's probably the only sad thing about this is that we're separated by distance, but
Absolutely.
Our hearts are one.
Absolutely.
In what we're doing.
And we look forward to doing this. We did it last year, and Meryl. So let's get started. And while we are cooking, we will chit chat.
Yes, absolutely. Let's go.
I'm going to start with my butternut squash. So usually the stuffed butternut squash requires you to chop the squash into half and then stuff it, uh, and then stuff with the stuffing and then tie with the thread and then put it in the oven. I just thought it was too much work, so I experimented, and that was really exciting last week. What I did, I took the butternut squash and baked it in the oven at 400 degrees for like 15 minutes, just little al dente, so it's little firm yet soft. And what that allowed me to do was to hollow this very easily. Okay, so then what I did, I removed the ends and I took a big spoon, a tall spoon, I should say, like this, and just went on removing the insides, almost like carving. So now do you see how hollow it looks?
Yes.
Right? And from the inside came all these seeds and the flesh, which of course I'm going to use it in my other recipes. I'm going to probably make soup or freeze it and use it in the curry, and things like that. So this trick of baking it first for 15 minutes made the whole hollowing part very easy. And now the stuffing is going to go in. I'm going to stuff it really well and then put it back in the oven for another 10-15 minutes, and off we go. So that's what I'm going to do with the squash. And let me start with the stuffing, and then I'm going to take you back, and then you tell us what you are going to do. So for the stuffing, I have started sauteing some carrots and onions. Traditionally, you can put celery in there, but I'm just going to go with some carrots and onions. While I'm cooking, stir frying, Meryl, tell us what you are up to.
Okay, well, I am up to making some Southern style greens. Greens are very traditional in African American households around the holiday time, and they certainly were a big part of my growing up. Interesting thing about greens, the way I remember them, is my mom would cook them all day, hours and hours of cooking the greens. These days, knowing what we know about the nutritional value of food, we just don't cook vegetables to death like that. Well, I guess you can, but it's not a good idea. It destroys the nutrients, it depletes the vitamins. So we don't bother. We will cook them till tender, but they'll still have a bit of a bite to them.
Perfect. And it's very important that we talk about the significance of these greens because of their calcium and iron and fiber content. One of the concern that people have about greens is, oh, how am I going to get my, not about greens, but being on whole food plant-based diet is, how am I going to get my calcium? How am I going to get my iron? And beans and greens are high in both of those nutrients. So
That's great.
this is
That's great.
exciting. So what do you have to do?
Along with all the fiber that they give.
Oh, of
It's
course.
just,
Of course.
amazing. So did you want to continue sauteing your dressing, the stuffing for a bit?
Yeah, just for a couple minutes, and
Okay.
then actually, you know what? While my stuffing is being cooked, I'm going to quickly talk about my wild rice, because the stuffing is going to have some wild rice in it, and this is already cooked, and it's at room temperature. And once this the onions, carrots are done, I'm going to season it with a little bit of curry powder and pomegranate and keep doing my thing. But you take over.
Okay. Well, I'm, like I said, working on some Southern style greens. What I have here are some mushrooms. I'm just kind of chopping into very large, coarse kind of pieces, right?
Yeah.
You want them kind of big and meaty. One of the traditional aspects of Southern style greens would be your smoked meat that goes into them, which we will not be using today, obviously, because we are whole food plant-based 100% of the time. So we're going to use the mushrooms to sort of mimic that texture of having something chewy in the pot when you're cooking.
Yeah.
I have my Dutch oven here, which is already pretty warm. I'm going to add this now. This is a mixture of red bell pepper, some shallots, a little bit of jalapeno here, you can see, and some mushroom. It also has a little bit of broth in it. So I'm going to put that over here. It's going to make us a bit of smoke. And we're just going to steam saute these vegetables for a little bit just to get them tender.
Perfect.
You don't need to cook them because they will be cooked in the greens for quite a bit.
Absolutely. And that mushroom is going to add a little bit of smokiness. Vegetable broth adds a little bit of smokiness. I just added some broth to my mix as well. And to this mix of carrots and onions, I am going to add a little bit of curry powder actually. Now, why curry powder? Because curry is one of those things where it not only adds flavor, but all the herbs and spices that are used in the curry powder are anti-inflammatory. And right now, we should be focusing on our immune system as much as we could. So I just added a little bit of curry powder in it. And to add little more meaty texture, I'm going to break open this mytek mushroom and just crumble it with my hands and add it in there.
That sounds great, Deepa.
So
I wish I was over there.
Me too, really.
Curry powder in squash. That sounds great.
That's perfect. Because I'm also
you were saying, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say, you're saying about supporting our immune system, especially now.
Yes.
I mean, it's always been important to keep your immune system strong, right? But now these days, with all of the challenges that we face with the viruses and the stress levels being so high, our immune systems are under attack all the time. Yes. Even when we are not aware of it, we are just really dealing with a lot. So between the mushrooms and the vegetables themselves have healing powers, and the herbs that we use are healing as well. So actually the meals turn out to be food as medicine. Delicious, food as medicine.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So these mushrooms and onions and carrots are coming together really nicely. And again, I don't want to kill it, you know what I mean? And make them too cooked and soggy because they're also going to get cooked a little bit in the oven. And now, just to balance the flavor, I'm going to add some pomegranate to it. Because yesterday I got some pomegranate. It's in season. It's going to be in season only for next couple months. And we must use seasonal fruits and vegetables in our diet as much as we can. Look how beautiful this looks.
I love that. That's gorgeous.
I'm going to see if I can. Right here. It looks delicious to my eyes, and the flavor, I cannot even tell you what my kitchen is smelling like right now. It's in the aroma is in the air. And that's it. My stuffing is done. I'm turning the gas off. And all I have to add to that stuffing is some pumpkin seeds and some cooked lentils for some protein. And I toasted my pumpkin seeds a few minutes ago. So I'm going to add those in. Now, traditionally, I know, Meryl, you had mentioned that you use pecans, but I'm trying to keep the dish nut-free. But again, we can add any nut or seed, depending on what the family's preference is or what allergies are being dealt with at home. And that's what makes these recipes so much fun because they are so flexible. And my stuffing is done. So I'm just going to remove this stuffing and mix it with my wild rice and get it ready. As you can see, this stuffing looks delicious. How are your greens coming along, Meryl?
I'm ready for the next step if we can.
Okay.
You are.
Hold on. Then I'm going to just quickly stuff my button squash with it, and then off we go.
Okay.
Okay. So it may look tricky, but it really not that much. So I'm going to take the spoon and make this butternut squash stand upside down and stuff it. I will show you how I'm stuffing it. And you do the same thing on the other side. And once it is stuffed, it's going to go back in the oven for another 10 to 15 minutes until it is basically heated through, because we don't want to cook it too much and make it too soft. It's already cooked halfway through. Okay, Meryl, I'm going to keep stuffing my butternut squash. And while you do that, while I'm doing it, show us what you are up to.
Okay, great. So I've been sauteing this mix of mushrooms and peppers and shallots here in this Dutch oven. Let's see if I can get you a picture of that.
Yeah.
And now I'm going to add about, let's see, a good heaping teaspoon of fresh crushed or minced. I always use a garlic press, so pressed garlic. It makes it so much easier than having to mince it and all that. So I added a good heaping teaspoon of fresh minced garlic. Oh my gosh, it smells so good. Ooh.
I know.
I'm going to throw in just a pinch of coarse kosher salt. Stir it around just a little bit. Excuse me, the jalapeno is getting me.
Oh,
I also want to add, for that smoky flavor, like we talked about, traditionally it's found with a smoked pork, or people do use smoked turkey legs or whatever. I'm going to use about a half a teaspoon of smoked paprika to give that smoky flavor.
perfect.
Stir that around. Oh my goodness, there it is. And now, just like that, I'm going to add the greens. Now, I rinsed, I guess I should show you this. I mean, we are really going about it, keeping it as easy as we can. So here at this food camera, you can see I have just a bag of greens. This is a Southern blend. It's got collards, mustard.
Okay. Can you show us again, please?
Oh, sure.
Perfect.
So they're
And where did you get this from?
already. Makes it super easy. I rinsed some.
Meryl, where did you get it from?
I live in Wisconsin.
Okay.
And we have Woodman's grocery stores here.
Okay.
And that is where I do the most of my shopping. To be honest, I'm not trying to endorse Woodman's. I get no money for saying that I shop there. But they just have a terrific selection. And it's just very well done. Very well done. So that's where I get most of my supplies. I'm going to, on top of it with the greens that I just added in, I'm going to go with about a cup. I guess I could do that over here, huh? A cup of vegetable stock that I'm putting into the greens.
Okay.
Now, that, maybe I'll put a little bit more. Okay, a cup and a half. When I was growing up, my mom was a pretty good Southern style cook, although she had other skills as well, but her strength was probably the Southern style.
Perfect.
She would call that juice at the bottom of the pan the pot liquor.
Correct.
Right? Pot liquor. So we put in enough of the stock to give pot liquor. And now we're just going to let the greens simmer for a little while.
Perfect. So while you were doing that, I stuffed my squash and I put those ends back on. Okay.
Oh, okay.
You don't have to, but you can. I'm just going to add and see how it works out. And it's going to go in the oven at 350 degrees for another 5 to 7 minutes. Or until it is done. And then what's the next thing you are going to be? I just wanted to show that how this looks without the end.
The next thing I'm going to be making is mashed potatoes and gravy.
Perfect.
Are we ready for that step?
While you are talking about mashed potato and gravy, I'm going to start warming up my pot for the cranberry chutney.
Okay, great. Sounds good.
Okay, so what goes into your mashed potato and gravy?
Mashed potatoes.
All
That's
right.
the first step. Nothing too unusual about, excuse me, mashed potatoes in whole food plant-based, except that we keep them with the skin on, right?
Yeah.
The skin has, again, a lot of fiber. It's got more nutrients. Deepo, is there anything in particular we can say about the skin on potatoes?
Yes, potassium, little bit of fiber, and I'm sure there are some antioxidants, polyphenols, which are in the skin like any other vegetable. So
Right.
it's always a good idea to eat, in my opinion, seeds, skin, the strings, the stuff that we throw, we should be eating that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I put that in the realm with Eat a Rainbow.
Yes,
You know, eat all your colors, and I would say eat all parts.
exactly.
So the flowers, the stems, if you can get something with bark, you know, or the outer layer, don't skin them. We're talking about potatoes. You can say carrots, beets, anything that you can eat the outer layer.
Yeah,
Seeds, roots, all of it.
perfect.
I leave
Because
it.
that's where all the nutrients are.
Absolutely.
That's how vegetable or a fruit protects itself is by concentrating the nutrients in its skin.
Absolutely.
That's what.
So here for the mashed potatoes, I'm using Yukon Gold potatoes. I'll show you in the food cam. I just cut them in large chunks, and you can see the skin is still on.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Right? That's the flesh. There's the skin.
Perfect.
What I need to do right now is I wanted to keep them warm. So I'm just going to dump the potatoes into a colander to drain the water off.
Yes. So while she's doing that, my pot is being ready. And in cranberry chutney, I'm going to add some cranberries. These are organic cranberries which are in season. You can buy them fresh and freeze them to use during the year. And that's what I had done. I have some fresh and some frozen from last year that I want to use up. And it's very easy. So along with the cranberries, I'm going to add some dates, and I had some date pieces which have been soaking in some hot water for last, I don't know, couple hours. So it's just a matter of combining the cranberries with some dates, and it's just going to sit there and cook for a few minutes. And then I'm going to add some ginger, powdered ginger, and a little bit of clove powder. And that's going to be the cranberry chutney. Okay, Meryl, take over. Let's finish your mashed potatoes.
All right. So we've got the potatoes here. I would say they're probably 4 fist size Yukon Gold potatoes, right? Not the baby ones, the big fist size. I also have 1 can, excuse me, 1 can of butter beans.
Did you say butter beans?
Yes.
Perfect.
Which will help give it a creamy texture. The Yukon Gold potatoes are pretty creamy anyway, but the butter beans will also help. So I'm just going to dump those in just like that. And this is one of my favorite kitchen tools. It is a potato masher. Old school potato masher. So we just mash up what's in the pot. The potatoes are very soft, as are the butter beans.
So butter beans are going to add, like you said, the creamy texture, also some protein, you know.
Yes, yes. And again, you said
fiber.
Fiber, and how are they for iron?
Absolutely. And then, sometime I have used navy beans, cooked navy beans or cannellini beans as well.
Yes.
They also blend in really well. So guys, I've just added some clove powder and ginger powder to my to the cranberry chutney, and the cranberries are getting cooked very fast. And really, this is a good time to use cranberries in variety of ways. People usually stop using cranberry right after Thanksgiving, or they just make chutney. But you can. Have you ever roasted cranberries? Last year I roasted some, and it was interesting to put it on the salad.
Uh-huh.
They roast really well.
Cranberries are super tart, though. What did you do to manage how tart they were?
Well, then you just make like a maple or honey based dressing,
Hmm.
and or if you can compensate the tartness with some other sweet type of fruit. I think it was last year I made like cranberry fig chutney, because dry figs add sweetness to it just like dates. We make savory relish with cranberries, and it has all kinds of spices mixed in, specifically mustard powder and cayenne, salt. It's very spicy, and you allow the cranberry pieces to marinate in those spices along with a little bit of salt, and then you get this spicy, tangy, salty relish to go with. Okay, all right.
Are we ready for the gravy?
Yes.
Okay. So I have a pan here heating on the stove, a regular skillet heating on the stove. In the meantime, I'm going to dice up some fresh parsley. One of the best things I'm going to tell you that you can have in your kitchen are sharp knives.
Yes.
Knives that work. And if you are, so here, I'll tell you a not terrifically lovely story, but I have a newly found respect for sharp knives. I went out and purchased some new knives as a gift to myself. And one day, not long ago, a few months, I was using this knife, which is an 8-inch chef's knife. You can see how the bottom of it is kind of bowed a little bit. It's got a little bit of curve to it. Super sharp and very efficient for chopping. Okay.
Yes.
And I was chopping along, and I had my thumb in the way, and I literally did great damage to my thumb. Like cut the tip off my thumb.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, that was quite the experience. So with that, it took several months for my thumb to heal. It is all back intact now. Yay.
Wow.
But I went out and bought a cut-proof glove, which is very handy.
That is true. I have one too. It's used in food service.
Super useful. If you're going to be distracted while you're cooking, or you're somebody who's not real sure of yourself with a knife, anybody, professional chefs use cut-proof gloves. So I would recommend them highly. They're very comfortable to use.
Absolutely.
Okay, so now I have, my pan is hot. I'm going to take, this is actually dehydrated onion, minced onion.
Wow.
Soaked in vegetable broth. So one of the things that people say about vegan cooking, whole food, plant-based cooking, they're afraid it's not going to have any flavor. Now you can see Deepa and I are not about that. We are all about making the food flavorful and palatable.
Wow.
And one of the ways you do that, that's hot, is by layering flavors. You know, you add ways to build flavor. One way is by using vegetable stock instead of water. Okay. I'm also going to put in now some mushrooms. I have probably half a carton now of sliced mini Bella mushrooms or cremini mushrooms. Those are going in over here because I'm making mushroom gravy now, right?
So Meryl, I just want to understand the step. You had that dehydrated onion broth.
Yes.
So now you just added that to the mushrooms, basically?
I put that in first, and then the mushrooms on top.
And then the mushroom second.
Yeah,
okay.
So probably the order of things there doesn't matter so much.
Okay. And then you added some more vegetable broth.
This is more vegetable broth now because I don't want it to stick.
Okay, I'm quickly going to check on my butternut squash.
Okay.
I think it's done.
So I'm simmering now the mushrooms and the onions together, which is a very common combination, right? You can imagine that easily in a mushroom gravy.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm going to also put in a little bit of this parsley. I don't know, that might be 2 tablespoons. Maybe a little more. Parsley. But when you're cooking whole food plant-based, it's a little bit of a different thought process you have to have. When you're relying on sugar, salt, oil, fat, and meat products or cheeses to add the flavors, we don't think maybe so much about the herbs and the spices and the layering of flavor. Right? But in whole food plant-based cooking, especially if you're going to be avoiding the sugar, salt, and oil, which of course are plant-based things, but not particularly healthy. If you're going to be
Absolutely.
avoiding those, then it helps to know, okay, so if you have, let's say you were going to add onions, maybe you would roast the onions first to
Yeah.
give a different type of a flavor to the onion, build a little flavor. Or if you're going to do garlic, maybe you would use both fresh garlic, which I have, and if you add a powdered garlic, it gives another dimension of garlic flavor, right? So I'll put in just a little bit of that.
Absolutely. Because
Yeah,
it's all about really flavor, right? I mean,
it is.
we when you tell people, hey, we cook without oil, especially in Indian food, the concept of not using oil in the beginning of the cooking to bloom your spices is almost
Yes,
unheard of. And
yes.
but once people try it once, I said, just try with one dish. You don't have to go uh,
Yeah, right. If you don't
uh,
like it, go
all
back.
the way in. You just try and have open mind. And once they do it, they say, well, the vegetables now they taste the flavor of the vegetable instead
Yes,
of just being coated with with oil and sugar and fat.
yes. It
Excuse
makes a
me.
big difference. It's almost like your vegetables, they start your it's like vegetables out loud, instead of muted.
The
I
vegetable
wanted
get
to
their
say too, I'm
voice.
gonna add some thyme.
Oh,
I grew thyme in my garden this past year.
perfect.
And this is it after I dried it. I hate to, it grows and then if I don't use it, it goes to waste. So I'm just gonna put in a couple sprigs of thyme
All right.
for this mushroom gravy.
I can just imagine how flavorful your kitchen must be.
Oh yes.
I mean, right
Yes.
now, just think about the marriage between thyme and garlic and onion. I mean, and mushrooms. What can possibly go wrong with it?
Right? What
Why
can go
would you
wrong?
not try?
Right? The
So,
other thing I'm gonna throw in here,
hmm,
I need a little bit more volume. So I'm gonna put in the rest of this little bit of vegetable stock. So total, so far today, I've used not quite a quart of vegetable stock.
perfect.
If I need more, I will switch off because I'm doing this mushroom gravy. I'll switch off to mushroom just because that's me. I'm not saying that's a requirement, but I
Absolutely.
enjoy the building of flavors like that.
I know, me too. Like layering and
Layering,
like
exactly.
making sure that there is texture to it, there is flavor to it.
Right.
You
And
know,
it's
and
not,
that's what makes it so delicious.
yes. Another thing I like to use, if I have like certain ingredients I like to use a lot and
Hmm.
that I think add a great deal of flavor
Okay.
with minimal effort or outlay. So I like to use mushroom powder.
Okay.
And I'll just show you what it looks like. I buy dried mushrooms and then I uh, blitz them up in a blender, I guess I would say, powder them
Okay.
in a blender. So I'm going to put in 1 tablespoon. This is shiitake mushroom
Okay.
powder.
Wow, that mushroom powder is going to have such intense umami flavor that
Yes.
that people usually feel that they are lacking if they are switching from the meats to plant-based lifestyle. And another good addition to this gravy would be our handy dandy nutritional yeast.
Yes, I have some of that also. I'm going to tell you though, one thing I am going to add, I will throw in some yeast in a minute. That'll give it that it almost gives it a little bit of a cheesy flavor.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely.
I also think you can never go now. I use white wine a fair amount in my cooking when I'm doing something exotic.
Sure.
So this one is a dry Chardonnay. You don't need much. I'm going to say maybe a quarter cup.
Perfect.
And
And
the
that is
white
going to
wine
add.
that I would use would be, I do not buy cooking wine. Cooking wine is high in salt.
Yes.
So if you're going to use wine in your cooking, use what you would use to drink if you were going to drink it.
Absolutely. So, wow, that whole combination is just sounds
Wow.
wonderful. Exactly. Your neighbors are going to stop by today at your house.
Right.
So
Here is the nutritional yeast you suggested.
perfect.
So I'll put in 1 tablespoon nutritional yeast.
Yeah, and that nutritional yeast is also going to add enough sodium, salt,
Oh, yes.
saltiness to any dish, and that's another reason why I like it. First of all, it's also high in B12 and a bunch of other B vitamins. So you can always sprinkle it on top of your salad or your vegetables for extra flavor. So
It's very common, actually, for people who eat this style.
yeah,
We put it on pasta. We put it on rice. We
I
put it
know.
on
Sweet potato.
pizza. You're making pizza,
Yeah, I put it on my sweet potato. I put it on my toast with flax seeds
That's right.
and avocado toast with flax seeds and this nutritional yeast. So it's a very versatile ingredient.
Yeah.
Meryl, while you are working on your gravy,
Yep.
can I start making my dressing?
Yes, yes.
Okay, perfect. So let's look at what I'm making the dressing for. These are Brussels sprouts, which I got yesterday, and just steamed them for like, I don't know, 5 minutes or so. I had split them open into half, and again, they are not very mushy, and they still have their vibrant green color because I steamed them without covering them, and they are just al dente. And Brussels sprouts is another very powerful vegetable that we all must try to eat. And the dressing for the Brussels sprout is going to be very easy. Some mustard, just your regular ground mustard. I'm going to add some maple in here. Now, one of the concern that people have when they are making dressing is how are they going to make it without oil? And we don't have to use oil because think of mustard. Where does mustard oil comes from? It comes from mustard. So there's enough oil in the mustard to act as an emulsifier, and that's the property we are going to ride on for this particular dressing. Dash of garlic. Well, it was more than a dash, but that's okay. And some fresh thyme. So a little bit of crushed fresh thyme. So it's going to blend really well. And all you have to do is to just whisk everything together. And toss your, as you can see, the mustard is not separating out. It won't because, like I said, it has enough oil in there, which is going to act as an emulsifier. You can add a little bit of water if you want it a little liquidy. I'm just going to add a dash of water. And continue to whisk everything together and toss my Brussels sprouts, or I'm going to serve with, drizzle it on my Brussels sprout when I'm plating my plate. So that's how the mustard dressing is going to just go so well with the Brussels sprouts. And as far as the nutritional content of Brussels sprout is concerned, gosh, all kinds of anti-cancerous properties, polyphenols, antioxidants, all that stuff is part of the Brussels sprouts. So that's all we have to do for the Brussels sprouts. Very low maintenance dish. And I'm so excited to show you my butternut squash. It's nicely done, all golden brown now, and ready to go. Okay, so look at here, guys. The squash has cooked just perfectly and is heated through. Now you can see if I put the knife in, it goes in easily. So it's going to be easy to cut. All right, Meryl, are you ready?
I am ready
to plate our stuff.
Well, no, actually, I have to finish the gravy.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
And then we'll be ready.
That's right.
All right. So I have removed the sliced mushrooms because I think it's from the gravy that I was making. Because I think people like to have pieces of mushrooms in their gravy. That's what I think. A little bit earlier, I cooked some rice, which I'm going to put, I'm going to say maybe a half cup rice, cooked brown rice, in with the mushrooms. And then I'm going to blend it. So we have a creamy mushroom gravy with a thick body.
Ooh.
Then we'll add the mushroom pieces back in. And I think we'll be good. So forgive me while I make a bunch of noise with my blender.
No, don't worry. Go ahead. I'm just showing people that now you are just going to take a sharp knife and cut this squash into these rounds. And like I said, it's perfectly done. We don't have to cook for too long because the stuffing is already done. Remember, the wild rice was done. We already cooked the onions and carrots.
Okay, here I come. Lots of noise. Now you could also thicken it up a little bit more if you wanted to with maybe oat flour or wheat flour.
Okay, that's good. What are you going to do? Are you going to thicken it at all?
I would like to, but I just want to I want to add more rice, I think.
All right, okay. My cranberry chutney is done, everyone. Like I said, I haven't done anything to it. Cranberries and dates cook together really well. And it's all nice and thick. No thickener was needed. No added sugar was needed. And the ginger and the cloves, cranberry, dates is like a perfect combination here.
Okay, Deepa, I'm going to run the blender again.
Sure, go ahead.
So, Deepa, I did want to tell you,
Yeah.
and the people who are watching, we are getting ready to launch a podcast through Plant-Based Nutrition Movement.
Perfect.
Will be coming, we're expected to launch in January.
Okay.
It'll be called 6 Million Seeds. And it is about using this style of cooking, as well as looking at our environment and our sustainable agricultural practices and climate health, and how all of that is so important to our personal health.
Yes.
And in particular, bringing it down to what do we do with our children? How do we teach our children to eat, live well, be well, healthy mind, healthy body, healthy planet, with a focus on children. So we're really excited about that project.
That is such a great idea, because we are not going to win the battle of chronic diseases if we don't address what we feed our kids in school. That's what it is, and what we feed our mom during pregnancy and even before pregnancy, because the research is what mother eats affects next 2 generations. That's how profound the effect of nutrition is. And if we are just going to have these band-aid treatments to fix our problems, we will never have really healthy
No, we'll just have
public.
continued
And yeah,
decline is what we'll have, ongoing decline. And just like we were talking about before, the stressors that we live under now with this, wave after wave of pandemic and the change and the new strains and all of the craziness that's on the media, and the level of stress is insane that we're living with right now.
absolutely.
And one of the best ways we can support ourselves, protect ourselves, enhance our immune systems is with healthy food. It's what we put in our mouths multiple times a day.
I know it's so important. I work with kids and families all the time, and just changing one meal makes so much better in their in children's focus and their attention, their performance. And those who are out there and wondering, oh, where should I start? I tell them, just start by just maybe one meal which is meatless, followed by maybe one day. Do whatever you can, at least be mindful first, and take the first step towards feeling healthy.
Yes.
And,
it's so interesting you said that. I watched, all kinds of stuff flows across Facebook when you're watching it, right? And it comes through. And something popped up about a report that was done, I want to say it was in the United Kingdom, in Europe. And it was a report recommending how we could come to net zero carbon emissions in sometime soon, sometime before it's too late, please, right? And one of the suggestions they had was just that: learn one new recipe. And they were advocating strongly for plant-based recipes. Absolutely. One new plant-based recipe, even in a week, could make the huge difference in the speed at which our climate changes and our ultimate overall health, short-term and long-term.
That's true. And you know what? We should be invested in our health and planet's health, because we are all these citizens of this globe. When climate crisis occur, they don't see if you are in US or you are in Mexico or you are in Europe or you are in India, whether you have money, you don't have money, what color of the skin you have. Correct. So all those things are just, don't exist in crisis. We all have to come together and work at it. That's the only way to do this. And like I said, yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited about your podcast, because really seeing what is being fed to our kids is really a sad state of affairs.
I will definitely be inviting you to be on it with me.
Absolutely, anytime.
Perfect. Well, I'm ready to plate what's over here if you're ready. I'm just going to get a plate.
So I started plating. I have my butternut squash served with my cranberry chutney, and I put some Brussels sprout with my honey mustard. I mean, not honey, maple mustard garlic dressing on top, and it looks delicious. I'm going to imagine that I have your potato and the gravy and greens on this side, and this plate is going to look super delicious.
It looks great.
And extremely healthy. And I don't think you and I are going to fall asleep after this eating this kind of food.
We're going to sit in front of the fireplace and enjoy a cup of tea and enjoy each other's company.
That is true. Next time, I promise we should do it together.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Yes. So here I put the potatoes on the plate. I'm going to, and honestly, you can make the potatoes as silky smooth or as chunky as you like. I tend to like a little bit more texture in mine.
Yeah.
So now I am going to add the mushroom gravy.
Look at that.
Looks like that.
Wow, look at that.
Oof.
Beautiful.
I think I'm going to have to eat after this.
Oh gosh.
I think so.
I was dreaming about it. I was so excited to wake up and get ready for this,
Yes.
We have been talking about it, and I shopped yesterday, and it's just awesome.
Right. Here are.
Oh, look at that. Look at those greens. They look perfect. No, I don't think anybody would know that this is whole food plant-based.
I think we have to taste it though, Deepa. Isn't that part of the requirement?
That is a must.
Okay.
You cannot taste it. Yes, let me too.
Now for Southern style greens, we always hold on. We typically eat them with apple cider vinegar drizzled on top of the greens.
Oh wow! Look at that's such a nice idea.
Yeah. So I'm going to put a little bit of that on mine, just because.
Is it possible for you to put your plate where the food can is?
Oh, sure. Yes, you have all sorts of other stuff to look at, and not my plate. Actually, I'm going to put some of this on top.
Yeah, perfect.
So I just put a little bit of parsley here on top of the potatoes. Yeah. And I just remembered I have a little bit of chives.
Oh wow.
That we can put on there. Now I buried my mushrooms though.
Yeah. And before we dig into it, I want to take this moment to express my gratitude, my love, I'm extremely grateful for our paths being crossed, and the positive energy you share with me, all my patients, clients, friends, family, everybody who is out there, who has supported me. I stand because of all these people out there, so I want to thank everybody for watching. I want to thank Meryl for taking time to do this elaborate cook along with me, and taking time to discuss the recipes and all that stuff. And thanks everybody, and hopefully we will continue spending time together through this medium, and let's see how our food tastes.
Great.
Goodness. My squash is just done right. Wow.
Yummy.
The wild rice, pomegranate, curry,
Mm.
ginger, and clove mm, from the cranberry chutney. The
Right. I'm going to
texture
try the
is
mashed
just
potato.
perfect.
Right. I'll try the mashed potatoes.
Yeah. How are your mashed potatoes? Nice and creamy?
Mm-hmm. Mm. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Yeah. Nice and creamy. Yeah, it has like a buttery flavor and a buttery look without the butter and oil, which is great. The herbs add a nice freshness, and the mushroom gravy is very good. Yep.
Perfect. It looks so nice. They look creamy. And your greens, tell us about your greens.
All right, those are next. Mm. Now, like I said, this is grown-up food. If you are uninitiated with strong flavor cruciferous greens, uh, you might be a little bit surprised at the strength of flavor, but they're very good, really
But
good.
you know what? If we expose our kids to herbs and spices
Yeah.
um, from the very get go,
Mm.
kids will start eating it. Everywhere else in the world, small, like 1 year old baby eats the all adult food,
Hmm.
you know.
It's fascinating, actually. That's how we started talking about doing this podcast, 6 Million Seeds.
Yeah.
Children in America. You've seen this, Deepa, and I know the viewers will have seen this too. The baby in the shopping cart, maybe 18 months old, with a chicken nugget in one hand and French fries in the other. And they're drooling and they're happy and all of that. But by the time from 18 months and some very much younger, 1 year or younger, they go then to daycare and they get similar kinds of food. And then they go to kindergarten and elementary school, and it's all the same type of stuff. And by the time you get to be a high school graduate, your tastes are so narrow that you can't tolerate certain types of flavors because they don't fall in the high sugar, fat, and salt categories.
It's
That
almost like smoking or any other drug to some extent. This
it
is
is.
no different than any addiction,
Yeah.
and that's where the problem is. So I'm super excited. I'm to learn what you have to offer on that podcast, and most importantly, how can we make the change? Because
Yes.
change is not possible. You and I can sit here and do this whole day long and talk about it until cows come home, but all of us, I'm urging each one of you to take a step to
Yes.
whatever it may be. Don't think, oh, this is small, it's not going to make a difference. Everything makes a difference.
Yep. One recipe. Learn one recipe and cook it.
Exactly.
Yes. Yes. Makes a
Exactly.
huge difference.
Absolutely. And these recipes are available if you text us at 630-686-7300. Just let us know you want the recipes, and they will also be in the note section of the podcast and the video cast. On this note, Meryl, I would like to again thank you for coming and
My
spending
pleasure.
time with me,
Always.
and we will do this again.
Yes. Perfect. Thank you so much. Pleasure being here again this year. Looking forward to it always.
Happy Thanksgiving,
All
everyone.
right. Thanks. You too, Deepa. Bye bye, everybody.